Dude.
Hey. How's the Tom?
I'm good. I've got camping hair. I've got camping coffee. I've got camping background. I'm by a lake.
I'm finding it hard to remember the last time I saw you without trees, which has got to be a good thing.
I think this is good. I think this is very good. So I was just going to marvel for a second the fact that we're live streaming a conversation. You're in North Wales. I'm in somewhere in Oxfordshire, I think, near a llama farm. Yesterday, we had a live conversation with Cindy's grandmother, who's 104 years old. She was 104 on the 2nd of June. And we did like a live conversation. And she's in the US. She's based in Texas somewhere. Based. 104-year-old people, they're not based.
Yeah.
They are in that place. That's it. They're in that place. They're not based there. And it's quite good. And we're in the middle of a field. It's amazing. So, yeah. How's your day going?
We're really getting there with the synapses, aren't we? The sort of person level synapses, the interactions, the audio, video access without it being geographically dependent, and the beginning of the kind of explosive wealth that can create. Yeah,
exactly. You know what I'm thinking? Should I have left it sort of 2 hours since I finished my challenge 6 before does that make much difference? Because obviously it won't be quite as fresh, but you want to give it a chance to recede, be replaced by conversational English, and then to try and resurface it, don't you?
You do. You're adding a little bit of extra 10% there, so it's all good. It does mean that it's the initial effort is a little bit more.
Yes.
Really, the longer you leave things, the more initial effort you get when you come back to them. But that's initial effort is super high value.
Yeah.
Man, my daughter's just arrived home. Dan ni ar livecast yma'n hi'n cario bach. Ys ti eisiau dod arno fo?
Carry her back. I picked her up.
Hey. Yeah.
Sort of knew what that one could have been. Okay. Well, do you need to talk to her now and say hi, or should we just go for a bit of Welsh?
No,
I'm obviously looking to stall as much as I can. Obviously,
we're on a live cast at the moment, aren't we? So let's crack on with that.
Let's do this, and then we'll do a catch up.
Do the Welsh, and then I can do the clean her glasses job for her.
Yes, that would be really good. If we can do the Welsh, that'd be great. Okay, now in the conversations again with the new stuff, just not so much psychologically, but practically, do you think it's better to start with the stuff that you know well and then allow the other stuff to bubble up, or do you think you should try and just work on the more recent stuff first? What do you think?
I would say that you're really just playing for time there, and it is utterly unimportant.
Okay.
Just go where your brain takes you.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, let's go then. Okay, I'm ready.
Superb. So, dechrau siarad Cymraeg rwan.
Rwan. Dwi isio siarad Cymraeg efo chdi achos dysgu Cymraeg mae'n ddaddol. Mae'n ddiddorol. Dysgu a siarad Cymraeg mae'n ddiddorol.
Gwych. Da iawn, Tom. Wow.
Da iawn. Ti angen deud rhywbeth arall yn ei Cymraeg rwan.
Oh my word. Day 3, da. Oh, sorry. Gwych, da iawn, Tom. Dwi angen deud rhywbeth arall yn y Gymraeg rwan. Iawn, oce.
Yep.
Dwi isio deud rhywbeth arall yn y Gymraeg. Dwi isio siarad Cymraeg efo chdi. Dwi'n mwynhau siarad Cymraeg efo chdi.
Dwi'n mwynhau hain cofle dysgu Cymraeg efo chdi.
Ie, ti'n mwynhau'r cyfle.
Mwynhau y cyfle.
Yeah.
Y cyfle. A ti, dwi meddwl bod ti siarad Cymraeg yn dda iawn.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Yeah. A dwi'n meddwl bod ti'n siarad Cymraeg yn dda iawn. Wyt ti'n mwynhau ymarfer?
Ymarfer. Dwi'n meddwl dwi'n dal angen ymarfer siarad Cymraeg.
Yeah. Wyt ti...
Achos siarad Cymraeg ddim siarad Cymraeg dda iawn.
Yeah. Dwi ddim yn siarad Cymraeg yn dda iawn.
Dwi ddim siarad Cymraeg a dda iawn.
Yeah. Neu...
Hi'n un hon. No.
Yeah. Hyd yn hyn.
Hyd yn hyn.
Ond ti'n siarad lot o Gymraeg. Lot ydi lot.
Lot.
Yeah. Ti'n siarad lot o Gymraeg. Diwrnod fi. Waw.
War meddwl.
Dwi'n meddwl.
War. China.
Yeah.
Dwi'n meddwl. Bo fi'n ddim stopio I siarad Cymraeg.
Yeah, ti'n meddwl bod ti ddim eisiau stopio siarad Cymraeg. Wow.
Ond fedra I ddim cofio deud beth o'n I eisiau deud.
Yeah, fedri di ddim cofio sut I ddeud beth oedd y ti eisiau deud.
Sut I deud.
Wrth gwrs ydi wrth gwrs. Yeah.
Stopio.
Dwi'n
ddim stopio.
Yeah, ti ddim yn stopio, neu ti ddim eisiau stopio.
Yeah. Dwi ddim eisiau stopio. Achos deud in rhywbeth arall
Mae'n iawn.
Dwi angen cofio
Mwy.
Beth o'n i'n trio deud.
Yeah. Ond ti'n dechrau siarad Cymraeg rwan?
Dwi ne dwi dwi newydd dechrau dwi newydd dechrau ddysgu siarad Cymraeg. W'n meddwl bod ti'n gwneud, bod ti'n gwneud, ti'n gwneud i dda iawn.
Dwi'n meddwl, W'n meddwl bod ti'n gwneud yn dda iawn iawn.
Dwi'n meddwl fod ti'n gwneud. Ond dda iawn a i dda iawn.
Yn dda iawn.
Yn dda iawn.
Pa mor hir wyt ti wedi bod yn dysgu?
Pa mor hir wyt ti wedi bod yn dysgu? Dwi wedi bod i dysgu siarad Cymraeg am tua mis.
Na ti ddim am tua mis.
Dim am tua...
Am 3 diwrnod.
Am 3 diwrnod.
Yeah.
Am 3 diwrnod. Dwi'n wedi a bod trio'r ymarfer siarad Cymraeg am 3 diwrnod.
3 diwrnod.
3 diwrnod. 3 diwrnod. Dwi ddim isio stopio, ond dwi fedrai ddim cofio sut i deud beth o'n i'n trio deud efo ti.
Tom, ti'n siarad Cymraeg, da iawn. Ti'n siarad Cymraeg rwan, mewn 3 diwrnod.
Diwrnod.
Dwi'n hapus iawn. Ti'n deall hapus? Hapus ydy, yay!
Dwi'n hapus.
Hapus iawn.
Dwi'n hapus iawn.
Fantastic. You know what? You've just blasted through 10 minutes there, Tom. No, not a 5-minute slot. You just blasted through 10 minutes there.
No English. Yeah.
And that was a real conversation. There was actual exchange of information there.
Yeah, we're starting to get there. I mean, okay, you're not going to expect miracles in 3 days, but don't forget, that's only 2 hours a day, right? So that's only 6 hours of learning.
For 3 days. Now, I mean, I can guarantee, one of the things we run into here is that, despite your increasing interest in experimentation on this side of things, you're not a career language teacher. So you're looking at what you've just done in these last 10 minutes and you're going, well, yeah, okay, it was sort of to and fro. There was some transfer of information, but, you don't expect miracles in 3 days. But any language teacher listening to that, I mean, the standard response there is going to be, no, this has been set up in some way. This is not day 3 of 2 hours a day interaction. People will listen to that and they will genuinely struggle to accept the idea that on day one you only had one word. They will find that a non-acceptable concept. So, I mean, and we've had this before. We've had this with other stuff we've done. You know, people will come on YouTube and say, well, obviously you set this up. Why? Why would you do that? What's
the point of that?
Yeah. But people, what you've just done, the last 10 minutes there was a genuine conversation. Of course, it was a limited conversation because you've been doing it for 2 hours a day for 3 days. But it was a genuine conversation. I said some things that you understood, and you said things back to me that followed on from the things I'd asked you. You know, that's all conversation is. Well, the only thing that happens from here on is the field we're playing in just gets bigger and bigger.
The number of items at our disposal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but what you've done here, that interaction is the heart of it. So you are already, you know, if somebody says to you now, are you a Welsh speaker or not? You've got to either say, well, I'm going to offer you a definition of being a Welsh speaker, which is tortuous and limited and problematic and really won't stand up to scrutiny, or yes, I am a Welsh speaker.
Yeah, I can speak some Welsh, so I'm a Welsh speaker. Yeah, exactly. Which is very interesting. So the things that surfaced to me this morning was quite revelationary, in that it really. We talked about it yesterday. The more you do, the easier it gets. But this whole idea of language as a reveal is really interesting to me, because I was trying to think, what most learners do is they multiply how difficult this is at the moment by infinity, exponentially, because that's what they've experienced with maths or with science or other things that they've learned, or even their first language, you know, because they do that. And so they don't realize, I think, that, so that's why the most painful part is the beginning, and everything after the beginning gets easier. If you still do it the same, if you're putting the same input, which is still a function of time, and you're still doing that, it gets easier and easier and easier. Whereas most things, it gets much harder to do complex sort of statistical mechanics than it does to do linear algebra, right?
And when you're doing really complicated mathematics or physics or anything like that, you know you've got neurological effort going on. I mean, it's probably I've never got far enough. I topped out at A-level maths, but it's probably not quite as intense as this process of acquiring languages in terms of the neurological effort it requires. But it gets up there. When you're working on complex stuff, it's hard work and your brain is working hard. When you're talking in your acquired second language that you have now proficiency in, it is not hard. Your brain is not working hard.
You've acquired it, Yeah.
And that's such an important line of thought. And I've not what you said yesterday about the more you do, the easier it gets. That is such a lovely framing of that, because I've told people often, you know, don't expect it always to keep on getting more difficult. But I've never quite phrased it as neatly as that. The more you do, the easier it gets. And that's such an important message.
It's like having children. You can't possibly believe it. I'm not saying the more children you have, the easier it gets. But when your children are young, you think, oh my God, when is this ever going to end? This is just interminable. Sleepless nights and nappy changing. And okay, you get tremendous joy and cuddling and all that sort of stuff. But boy, it's brutal. And it just gets easier and easier. And obviously, you know, if you've done it right, okay, maybe if you haven't built up relationships, then the teenage period can be a bit of a nightmare. But in general, parenting gets easier and easier, and you don't believe it at the beginning. You think, when will this ever, you know, change? So maybe it's like that.
There's kind of, there might be some interesting overlap there in terms of sort of, you know, your lines of thought about reasonability. If you have a reasonable approach to something, then over time it should just get easier because you've done more of it in a reasonable way. So you find things that there are functions of mind that will become more difficult, or that you're always at the
you're always at the horizon, the mistake horizon.
You're looking for the 10%. But then there are other things woven throughout life, like meditation, like personal growth, all sorts of things.
Weight training, keeping in good shape is much more start intensive than maintaining a good shape. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe a language is like a musical instrument, really start intensive, but it gets easier and easier maybe to maintain. Maybe what we should be doing is increasing the volume of practice time to maintain the 10% difficulty.
You know what? Well, I mean, that is actually also interesting, because I think you can go in the direction of the 10% from a lot of different angles. And certainly that is one of them. And we see people show a neurological adaptation to the amount of time they spend learning. So we know that people can do hours a day for 10 days in a row. We've tested up to 10 days in a row. We know that functions, that works. And I suspect that for people, if the environment is there for that, then the sense of excitement and growth that you get out of that is probably a kind of, locks you into it. But it also makes me think there's probably a lot to be said in terms of first point of contact learners, for us to be thinking and talking and offering stuff in sort of challenge type contexts. So if we say to people, okay, you found this approach and it works in these ways, and there you are, fill your boots, that's how it works. But by the way, we have a special startup challenge for people who really want to make this happen, because we know that the more you do, the easier it gets. So if you do a lot right at the beginning, you're very quickly past the most painful stage. So that's what we recommend this particular game.
There's a lot in that, because I'm already thinking, I'm sort of already, that's kind of one day, isn't it, really? Six challenges, really, of a full thing, sort of 6 hours of learning with some sort of conversations. So I'm sort of thinking that, the 10-day challenge, where you're doing full time, which is probably, say, 6 hours of challenges, and then probably some other stuff in there, intensive speaking, fourth production, you can get a long way in 10 days if you do it like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So when we come to the 12 months, 12 languages around the world trip, I think the first 10 days is the learning, second 10 days is using and sort of doing it, and then and then the final 10 days, sort of this skill share, holidays, but I think this kind of skill share of like, I'm going to travel to a country, I've got skills, it would be great to reach, after 20 days, reach proficiency, to be able to teach the things that you can do in your new language. Maybe not super, but like if it's mathematics stuff, the mathematics is the same. You can teach it in that, or ideas or innovation or design thinking or any of these things. So imagine this caravan traveling around the world, sort of learning a bit and then sort of giving back great ideas to all these different communities with this entire genius network. I met an amazing guy today. I'll tell you about him offline, but amazing guy's doing some phenomenal things in Portugal to join the genius network. He's a legend. He's really interesting. So
tell me he's in the Algarve.
Sorry?
Tell me he's in the Algarve, because I want an excuse to go back.
Porto.
Oh,
it's close enough.
It's an excuse to drink port instead then.
Porto's quite nice, actually.
Never been there, so that should be a thing.
Right, let's call this a day then. But I think what is going to be interesting is no one's going to be able to go back. They'll either think I'm an amazing actor for the first 2 or 3 days, or and that we've staged it, or they'll think, actually, this seems pretty genuine. Yeah, exactly. So
but it's also worth, I mean, tagging in here, it's worth, what we're doing is we're testing boundaries with this. But we're testing them in fairly optimal circumstances. So you have a lot of experience with accelerated learning. You have a lot of understanding of the kind of emotional challenges that go around. You've got a very strong working memory. You're very good at chunking and also at recalling what you've already done. So one of the things we're not doing is saying anybody who does 2 hours a day for 3 days is going to reach the level, because frankly, most people would not. But there are lots of people who would. And actually, even if you just get to half this level in 3 days, that is still
very, even if it took you 6 days, even it wouldn't be that bad.
I mean, this is the amount you can say. Now, the fact you can have an exchange, a conversation, a mini conversation in Welsh, and there are people who've been living here for 50 years who can't do that. I mean, it's bonkers by comparison. So
that's why we need to get more people to use this method. I'd like to say that yes, I like to think I'm smart, but I think the system is way smarter than me.
Oh. Well, let's take it as a 50. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, but it's the system that does the heavy lifting. My smartness, if anything, is to trust in the system.
That is a really important point. That is
important. The fact that I'm trusting, and I only trust you probably because I've known you for 5 or 6 years, and so I'm that side of things. And maybe the script, the little voice of doubt that's in people's heads saying, "Oh, this isn't going to work. This is hard. What were you thinking? This is too hard. You can't do this." Will kick in. And if I know that that's going to be there, so A, I'm ready for it, and B, I trust the system because I trust you and I've seen it work. Don't forget, I've also used this for other languages as well. Yeah. So I do know the system. And the other thing is, perhaps this is something that we need to be clear about. We don't know what the impact has. I know the English patterns really well.
Yeah. I don't think that's particularly important, because what you really get there is a little bit of interference from your
Maybe.
So I think that's really important. But what is important is your ability to go out and to play around with the blocks and move them around and see, this bit might be here and that kind of stuff.
I've got one bone to pick with you. What about, where did the year come from in Challenge 6? There's 2 words that come, Challenge 6 and more often or something are in there. And I go, what? Where did they come from? So I don't know whether maybe I got a corrupted file, or maybe it's updated or something.
I think a little scripting hiccup was what happened there. And then the first time I heard about that, I thought, well, you only need to hear it the first time, and then it's been introduced.
Exactly.
You don't need to say, here I am introducing it.
Yeah.
So, and I sort of thought you could actually do more like that, except for the fact that
you primed people for it in advance.
Yeah. And it is a little.
I'm going to throw in things and just so I could play around with it, because I do want to be able to play around with month and week and day, and I want to be able to play around with units of time. So, what was day again? Diornod.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's got obviously a very Latin root then. Diurnod. Diurnal.
Well, you're gonna find more and more and more Latinisms. You're gonna have fun with that.
Of course. Okay, dude. Well, listen, let's close off the Zoom call. So the live stream ends, and we'll just have a quick catch up on WhatsApp. Or no, do your glasses. Well, actually, I think we're okay.
Yeah, no, I did them. I did them earlier while you were talking Welsh.
Okay. Well, listen, I'll go back and do camping things. Ping me later on if we want to have a catch up about the other fun stuff. Yep.
Okay, fab.
Okay.
Well done.
All right. Bye. How do you say bye in Welsh? How do you say bye?
Well, actually, we just usually say ta-ra up here, so very Liverpudlian influence there. Yeah.